thank you for joining me today. And I'd like to kick off this conversation really by asking you what it is that brought you to be a coach.
Well, it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak today and to speak to our audience of maybe new coachees that are thinking about joining the Thrive platform. And what brought me to it is actually my oldest son when he was 8 years old. And that experience was me going into the classroom and realizing how many kids in third grade were completely disengaged from their experience in the classroom with their teacher. So that little experience took me to my first company, and I started training teachers and writing curriculum in project-based learning for third grade through high school.
Mm.
And so I didn't have a teaching credential, but I was training teachers and I needed something. So I went and I got my coaching credential. And that's how I actually started my journey in coaching. And that's 20 years ago now.
Mm. What did it give you?
It gave me an opportunity to, to connect with people in a different way. That training allowed me to believe in myself, first and foremost, and believe that there are no right answers and there are no wrong answers. There's only the experience for the individual. And whatever that is 100% right.
Mm.
It may not be working for them right now, and they may want to think about that, but we're all perfect. We're doing the best we can.
Yeah, doing the best that we can with the resources that are available to us at that moment in time. I'll always remember that line in the start of my coaching training.
Yes,
If
yeah,
you approach everything with that mindset, then you can't do anything but sponsor people.
exactly. And I think it helps you to not judge yourself as well. You
Mm.
know, as a coach, none of us are perfect. We're all living this life the best we can. And if we're not growing, we're dying. So there are always going to be mistakes and opportunities. So I think it helps me as well not be hard on myself. And therefore, there's no way that I could ever be judging anybody else because we're all doing the best we can.
Mm. You've been an entrepreneur and you're a speaker, you've been a coach for 20 years, you've been a consultant, you've been a founder, you've done lots of different gigs. What keeps you coaching?
The connection with other people.
Mm.
I I get life from that. I get energy from that interaction. I'm actually an introvert with a very big I. People don't necessarily see that,
Mm.
but I am. So that one-on-one opportunity or one to a few is so valuable to me because I get energy from being with people where I can share my energy, my belief in them,
Mm.
and that is fuel for my fire. And it's also, I find, fuel for my coachees as well. When I
Mm.
have a good rapport with people, it's a magnificent relationship.
Mm. So what is the unique experience or the coaching approach or mindset that you bring to your relationships, your coaching relationships, that helps support leaders or teams through their challenges?
I think it's in my belief in the human being able to figure things out for themselves. I don't believe that we can do it by ourselves. I have my coaches. I have the people that I need to go to when things get hard for me. I used to be afraid to ask, and now I'm like, I pick up the phone, I do whatever it takes. Pay attention to me. I need help today.
Mm.
But I think it's that aspect of believing that everybody has the capacity to figure things out by themselves with help. And our opportunity as a coach really is just to ask good questions that help people dig deep to discover their own wisdom. We move so fast in today's society. We don't ever give ourselves the opportunity to think, to pause, to stop for long enough to let that intuition and wisdom come in.
Mm, mm. Can you share an example of how your coaching's helped either an individual or an organization have a meaningful result or shift?
Well, one of my favorite clients that I actually coached for a couple of years went from he's a very high introvert. He was the shyest person that I had coached in a long time. And the expectation of the organization that he would step into a very big role and he would run a regional organization. But he came from, I always imagined that he sat at a desk in the back of a room with a lot of other people doing his tech stuff. And the shift that he needed to make for himself from that position of being in the background to being in the spotlight was enormous,
Mm,
enormous. And we worked together for about 2 years.
mm,
And it wasn't that he did the work. All I did was I was his support system. He was able to call on me to think things through, to just check when he was doing something or something new. But that I know he's made a huge difference. I mean, I know he's on speed dial with some of the VPs in the US of the company right now. So I am so proud of this man.
Amazing. You said that you're there and you're a go-to person for him. Could you shed a bit of light on what a coach really does?
In that, in So I think that our job, but it's going to be different for every single individual that we work with.
Mm,
But our job is to meet that person wherever they are, right? If the person comes to me for the first time ever and they have no idea who I am or what's expected of them and they've never been coached before, then my only job is to have them feel comfortable that they're in the right place, that
mm,
they've done the right thing,
mm,
that this is a safe spot for them to hang out and share as much as they want to share
mm,
for as long as they want to be doing it.
mm,
And I think our job is just to meet and, as we say in the coaching, where we pace the person. So we're never pushing them harder or further than they're ready to go. But at the same time, I would say that our job is to see more of what they're capable of than maybe they're seeing for themselves,
yeah,
so that we can help them move into a bigger version of themselves if they choose that. If they don't choose it, that's fine too. But I think that that's our job, and that's just walk alongside. And we as coaches have a training, a form of training that helps us do that gently, carefully.
mm,
And we also have a lot of life experience
mm,
that helps us be able to make suggestions at times. We've worked with a lot of different people. We're able to pull from different experiences that we have to give somebody an idea of, well, I saw this individual work like this with his team. This is how he started to organize his day, his hands-on meeting. What might that look like for you? Would that be helpful? So
mhm.
that's basically our role, is to give the safe space, suggestions if appropriate, and then help the individual move forward.
Yeah, gently inspire and coax and yeah, yeah, facilitate. We have we know we have a number of people that feel a little bit tentative, a little bit apprehensive about because they've never been offered coaching before. They're now working for an organization that says coaching's on offer for you, come and take it. What do you know about how people what gets people to that first session, or when they come to the first session, what they achieve?
I've had several people who have told me that they've known that they've had these coaching opportunities for a while. I mean,
Mm,
months to maybe a year, but they have never taken up on it, taken the organization up on it.
mm,
And I think that I think part of that comes from not realizing that just having a sounding board in another person on anything, I mean,
mm,
it can be personal, it can be professional, it doesn't matter. Having somebody that is going to care with you
mm,
about what you're going through
mm,
is life changing.
mm,
So when I get my coachee who's never been with me before, well, the first thing that I do is I always ask the question. We in on the Thrive platform, we have a messaging system. So I use it. So when I have a new person that I've never worked with before, I always send them a message before I ever meet them.
mm,
So I'm doing that piece of building rapport and figuring out what do they need and having them be comfortable, hopefully, that
mm,
I'm not some kind of dragon on the other end of the video. I'm a real person. I'm a human with all the mistakes and all the messes that everybody else has. But I think that my starting point is always, if you haven't been coached before, let me tell you what this is.
mm,
So open with, it's a safe space. It's always confidential. Nobody's ever going to know what you're talking about, and you can bring anything.
mm,
And I've never had anybody do their first 30 minutes with me and not come back ever.
mm, mm,
So I think it's just when we've never had that experience and we have no idea what it's going to look like, and then suddenly in 30 minutes we have some kind of breakthrough, or we see a light, or we see an opportunity. That I think is the magic.
mm.
And then once you've done that once, you're going to want to do it again.
Yeah, yeah. How would you get me started? If it was my session, what could I expect to be the first two or three things that you would ask me?
Well, my first question to you would be, have you ever been on the Thrive platform before?
Hmm.
And then if your answer is no, it would be, well, have you ever been coached before?
Hmm.
And then it would be, may I take a couple of minutes and give you some information around how we coach here, how I work, etc. So I will give you that information and let you ask me any questions you have at that point. And then you have written to me with what's top of mind.
Mm,
So I have that window into what you've been thinking about before you ever came to talk to me.
mm.
And I'm going to start with asking you if that piece of information you gave me, what you wrote to me, is still what you would like to talk about.
And if somebody can't find the words to put in that question, what would you like to achieve in your coaching? Because they just don't know. How would you propose that people could get an idea about what to say to their coach?
I think that's a very, very good question because I've had that too.
Mm,
And my my question there is normally, when I ask you what's going on in your life that is causing any kind of challenge for you or making you feel a little bit uncomfortable, personal or professional, is there anything that comes to mind?
mm,
And generally, with a little bit of space, there is something that comes to mind. And
mm,
and that just becomes, the conversation opens there, and it doesn't need to be a big deal. It can be a little thing.
mm,
I had fairly recently, I had a new coachee who came with, what came to her was a problem at home,
mm.
a problem that was happening kind of inside her family with her kids. And so that's perfect.
Yeah.
We all need it. This is life. It is not work, and it's not personal and professional. It's life. We're lifing together. So
Mm,
we've got to be able to put it all together. And that's another piece that I think is super important for new people to know is, I truly believe that we cannot separate the two.
Mm.
that we have to look at the whole person and we have to be coaching. That's my job, is to coach the whole person. And if something comes up in the professional side of things, obviously that's what we're going to work with. But generally, I discover that over time, we can kind of, there's a breadcrumb trail that is helping people manage other aspects of their life at the same time as they're managing their work situation. And
Yeah.
things spill over.
And what is the coach's job?
The coach's job is to hold the space, to ask a question when appropriate that helps the individual do their own thinking.
Yeah.
You know, what does that, it's what is happening for you? What does that mean to you? What are the challenges that that particular situation is bringing to you?
Mm.
So I don't have the answers. They do.
Mm. What are the main topics or themes or challenges that people bring to coaching with you?
Right now, I would say it's a combination of overwhelm, a sense that I, I had actually a new coachee just this week who was being never had the time to do her own work. So constantly notifications, ping, 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 ping on the computer, because she was working with Teams, in Teams, in the Teams app, and everybody has access to everybody there, right? So she was constantly being pinged, and was felt that she was not doing her job if she was not responding immediately.
Mm.
So as a result of that, she couldn't get any of her work done. She was listening to the pings, responding during the day, and doing her work at night.
Wow.
And it was overwhelming, and it's not sustainable.
Mm.
So what we did was, with a bit of questioning, we dug into what really could she, when could she turn things off, and how long could she turn them off for where she wouldn't get stressed,
Mm.
so that there would be a bit of time to actually do the work that she needs to get done, to get her job done. So it's overwhelm, and it's coming up with strategies that work within the workplace and the expectation of the individual and the expectation of the individual's managers as well. So there's a lot to play with there. So it's overwhelm. And then the other thing that has been coming up is when there's a mismatch between the manager and the team member. So the manager, and because of the work that I did in education, I'm so fascinated by the psychology of learning and processing information, how we show up in the world. But I've had situations where there's been such a conflict inside a team that we've been able to unpick it into, this is the way that I think about things.
Mm.
And maybe the other person thinks about something completely differently. And how can I, as their manager, now understand them better, give
Mm.
them more of what they need in order to be successful, instead of being so frustrated that I'm not getting what I need from my team members. And so those kinds of things come up. And then the other thing that I just comes to mind is when people have a job but no authority. So their responsibility is to coordinate a project with different departments, different individuals in different departments, but they don't have authority.
Mm.
Very hard place to be.
Mm. Yeah. Is would it be true that if people don't have problems, they don't need coaching?
I don't think there's anybody on the planet that doesn't have a problem, something that if they had a coach, a sounding board, a person to talk to,
Mm.
that neutral not a member of their family, not a friend, nobody that has an agenda.
Yeah.
If they didn't have somebody like that to talk to, I think everybody needs that.
Yeah.
Even when we don't even know it,
Yeah.
we need it because there's stuff that we're hiding from ourselves that is painful. And what the coaching opportunity is to be able to, even if it's a little niggling thing, it affects you. It's the opportunity to be able to put something on the table
Yeah.
and really explore it.
Yeah, and I suppose that those scenarios constitute 70 or 80% of our work, but we are fortunate enough to also talk with people that have a project, have been given a promotion, have got a massive opportunity, have got a business idea, have got something that they want to build or create or lead, and they also bring us in as thinking partners to be able to design that with them as well. So, you know,
Yes.
facilitating that stretch and that new brand and that new way of approaching something that gets them to an ambition or a dream that they have.
Very definitely. And that was, the example that I was giving earlier from with my coachee.
Yeah.
I was he actually sent me a message the day he did his first hands-on in person for 100 people standing in the front of the room. I mean, from somebody who was terrified
Oh
to talk
wow.
to anybody, it's huge, it's huge. But
Yeah.
it's his work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take any credit for it. It's his work.
Just relating to the people that are able to have coaching, what would be a mindset or a piece of advice that you would give to them about how to start thinking as a coach or exploring their potential?
um, for them to be in a coaching mindset
Yes.
for that individual. Well, again, it's hard to have a coaching mindset if you've never been coached
Yeah.
because you don't actually have the experience of what it feels like
Yeah.
to be in a coaching situation. So the first thing you have to do really is you have to be coached. You have to understand what that looks like, the way that we ask questions, that kind of thing. But I think after that, the and I'm going to say this comes with the experience of coaching, is that a a manager that is wanting to be more of a coach and a leader really needs to step back for long enough to let the other person do their work, do their do their own thinking, come to their own conclusions. This command and control piece in management is long gone. It cannot happen anymore. But you can't, in my view, you can't get to a coaching mindset without understanding what that looks like for yourself, what that has felt like. So you're able to then be demonstrating that kind of work with another person.
Yeah. Yeah. You coach across a broad spectrum of topics as we've heard, but you also have a passion for the relationship between parents and their teens.
Yes.
Say a little bit about what it is, Gummers, what your purpose is there for your coaching.
So a little bit of the history of that is because, as I mentioned, I started my coaching career in the education space, and so I knew so much for the early years of working with kids, and then my kids became teenagers, and especially my younger son, and went through a very, very, very difficult time. A lot of mental health issues, a lot of bullying, these kinds of things, and I I went to bed terrified that something might happen, that
Mm,
he might take his own life. And that's a terrifying place for a parent to be. But because I have worked through this continuum, is after coaching in school, I actually coached at university. And then now I'm coaching in the workplace as well. So what I see, and so clearly, is that the challenges that parents are having with their kids and teens are having with their own stress, anxiety, mental health, the 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 dis-ease that is going on around us, is that I feel parents have an opportunity to really help their kids understand what's going on for them, what's the process of becoming an adult, and then to coach them as well through that teenage difficult time, and for the parent to feel like I'm doing the best I can to get to move out of the guilt, shame, feeling of failure, feeling of not doing well enough, not doing enough. That's my goal, is that we can kind of pull these families together, and we can go, we're a team, we're a partnership. What does that look like, and how are we going to move forward together where
Yeah.
everybody can be successful?
Yeah, it's wonderful to do that group coaching with organizations where you bring the parents together and you find these clusters of people. If they've got the early babies or the early, young children or the teenage children, and you can come together in this community and talk about actually what are the challenges, what do I understand about myself, what do I think about my own successes and failures, and what can I learn from other people, and to accept that actually part of being brilliant in work is to also gift yourself time and permission to also talk about the things that are heavy in your life where you feel as though you're not as good, strong, or capable. Mm.
Yes, and it goes back to, we have to be the whole human. We
Yeah,
have to show up with all of these aspects of ourselves, that we can talk about. We're very vulnerable,
yeah,
and I think it's so important that we share that we build community around those things that we're dealing with that are difficult, because it's difficult for everybody.
yeah.
It's, none of us have it figured out.
No,
None of us. No
yeah.
matter what it looks like, we don't.
Yeah, and just having that precious time with someone that's a thinking partner that you can press and test and pull and push and open up and close down, be happy, be sad, be excited, be frightened, all of the things that you can just be genuinely expressive in, and then feel as though it's in front of you and you can look at it and consider it. It's incredibly powerful. Yeah. Um,
Absolutely.
you talked at the top of the house about your somebody that you coached recently and what he'd achieved in his introversion and in being able to stand and really take an incredible place in the organization. Is that your favorite coaching success story, or would you have any others?
Well, I have to say, what I have really enjoyed over the course of the last couple of years is that every client that I've coached, I mean, not all of us are for everybody, right? Let me just say that.
Mm,
There's got to be a chemistry, a rapport.
mm,
We've got to be the right coach for our coachee. So once we've established that, um, I am very proud of the fact that pretty much I think every single coachee I've had has wanted to continue. It's the organization that hasn't continued.
mm,
So everybody's getting value out of this, and that's what's so very, very important. But going back to a couple of other people, so I have one coachee, one client who is very high up in an organization and absolutely believed that she never needed to be coached because she could never meet a coach who would be able to understand her, get her, or move as quickly as she does. And her immediate boss at some point said, I really think it might be a good idea if. And so she landed on me. I was her first. And she's been very, very open about the fact that I absolutely came to this session to test you, Isla. I absolutely believed that nobody could figure me out and that I didn't need anybody. Well, she's become a wonderful, wonderful client. to the point that we actually met for lunch in Austin a
Oh,
couple of months ago. So I think I have several, several stories about people who've been able to get their lives back because they've managed their overwhelm. We've come up with strategies,
mm,
how to get their work done, how to manage their teams. There's always there's always a positive outcome for anything that you do where you open yourself up to how could things be better for me? As soon as you
mm,
take that step and you say, what could I be doing better because it's going to affect me and my own life and my family, there's always going to be a gain, always.
yeah, amazing. And what is it that keeps you motivated and inspired to in your work?
Yes, there's always, I mean, the light bulbs go off all the time,
Mm,
all the time.
mm,
And I love that. Well, who wouldn't love that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So my final question to you is about coaching that you've had. And
Yes.
I'm interested to hear a moment where a coach has said something to you that's been your light bulb moment, that it's stayed with you, that it's a motto, it's a mantra, it's a rule, it's a piece of wisdom where you can just recall it and it's there for you as something that's been a gift that's kept on giving.
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. I've had a lot of coaches
Yeah.
so far over my life, a lot of different, very, very smart, giving people. Um,
Is there one saying that either it might be a parent, it may be a caregiver, it may be a friend, somebody that's offered a piece of coaching wisdom to you and you've gone, I get that. I'll tell you mine. Mine was my dad had five girls and I was the youngest of five girls. And he used to say, Pam, if you don't ask, you don't get. Right. And it was that notion of just because you're the youngest, you don't have to be the silent one. Actually get your voice in the room, ask for what you want, and let's see what can happen.
yeah, yeah. So I don't have one particular thing that comes to mind. However, I will tell you what my learning has been
Okay.
over the course of time. My learning has been that I am in constant change. I'm in constant evolution. I'm constantly reinventing myself. And that my job on the planet is to realize that, to take all of the help, the coaching, the wisdom that I possibly can, and that when I have an opportunity to share it, that's my job.
Mm, amazing. Isla, as ever, it's been delightful to talk with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a delight.